plays that you run, the systems that you run. You have tweaks here and there, but there's a reason why you got to the place where you're at, and it's the same thing there with our message. And the message is going to be, what the message has been all year is that you take it one day at a time. We have this huge mountain to climb, right? If you look at the mountain at the top right at the beginning from the game from Detroit, that seems like a pretty unattainable task. But if you take one day at a time and you take one step at a time, it becomes much more. Now, we're closer to the top. But when you get closer to the top, it gets a little harder to breathe. It gets a little more slick at the top. The weather conditions get a little bit rougher. So it's even more important now that we're here with 2 weeks left to go that you're even focused even more so on the day and on the meeting or on the practice, right? And so that's what we'll be doing, and that will be a big part of the message. And it's just taking that one day at a time, improving one day at a time, and getting closer with each other, and so we can reach the top.
Offensive coordinator Shane Steichen told me yesterday that they are installing the offense this week, and they'll take it to the practice field, and next week when they get to Arizona, they can tweak things. And the offense is Jalen Hurts, right? Take a look at this graphic we got from ESPN Stats and Information put together this morning. These are unbelievable numbers when you consider what Jalen Hurts has accomplished this year. It is absolutely historic. Highest completion percentage in the NFL on passes inside the pocket, 72%. Most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback in NFL history, including the playoffs, 15. 16-1 record this season, including the playoffs. Only quarterback to go 17-1, Matt Barry. That would be Joe Montana, Hall of Famer in 1984. Historic performance by Jalen Hurts. Got one more game to get it done.
One more game, and it's the biggest of them all. More of Nick Sirianni's conversation with you, South Pal, tomorrow on this very edition of SportsCenter South Pal. Thank you. Let's bring in Louis Riddick now back from Mobile and the Senior Bowl. I want to get to that in a minute, but first let's talk Super Bowl, Louis. Because it's Nick Sirianni, first Super Bowl, we get it, but on the other sideline, Andy Reid, the winningest coach in Philadelphia Eagles history. It's a very interesting storyline, but for you, how do you want, or how should Nick Sirianni approach this game against the Chiefs?
Yeah, Matt, I think the way he articulated his message to the team and the methodology that they're going to use, the process they're going to use, is exactly how he should approach it individually. Look, he can't look across the sideline and look at it and go, oh, wow, that's Andy Reid over there. I got to step outside my comfort zone, step outside the process that I put into place from day one here and do something different. That's not what got you there. And quite honestly, you haven't practiced that kind of process. You haven't practiced those kind of things. Do what got you to where you got to. Obviously, the margin for error is a little bit different. It's a lot tighter. It's a lot more, things can become very much more catastrophic if you don't execute in the way that you are coached to do in a game like this, because after this, there are no more games to play and you can't continue to practice and get better. But we all know this is what you play for. That's another thing that he articulated. We understand the magnitude of the moment, but we are also one of the most versatile and one of the most multiple offenses in all of football right now. And defensively, we can get after you in so many different ways that we can make life miserable for you. So why wouldn't we be confident in our approach? Look, I think and all of this is easier said than done. We know that. We know that when we get to moments in time in our lives when we're trying to prove something, we're right there at the pinnacle, we may be tempted to do something that didn't help us get there in the first place because we think that's what the moment requires. But we also know over time that the greats always tell you at that very moment where it was you were going to blink or your opponent's going to blink, you rely on your fundamentals and what got you there, and that's usually what gets you over the hump. It's the person who tries to go outside of character that usually gets in trouble and winds up with the short end of the stick.
That's it. Do what got you there. And speaking of do what got you there, you see a lot of guys behind you, the Senior Bowl in Mobile. They are trying to do what got them to the Senior Bowl to the NFL. Quickly, Louis, give me that diamond that you're keeping an eye on out there at the Senior Bowl, because you saw a lot of them on Thursday Night Football with me.
Yeah, and the one who I'm keeping my eye on is one who we saw. We saw him down there at Tulane, and Tajay Spears, the running back. Matt, he has just taken these Senior Bowl practices by storm with his explosiveness, his lateral change of direction, his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. I mean, people are enamored with the kind of explosive playmaking ability that he can provide at the next level, because there's no question about it. It transfers. What you saw him do at Tulane, what we saw him do on Thursday Night Football against SMU, what you saw him do against USC in the bowl game, he is doing out here, and he will do on Sundays next year. His head coach, Willie Fritz, who you know very well, is supposed to be here at practice today. But look, Tulane is very well represented in Tajay Spears. is going to have a great, great career.
The future of the league right behind Louis. He's a part of our Senior Bowl coverage over on ESPNU. 12:30, 18 minutes. Plenty of time to get there. Louis, thank you.
It starts with me. I've got to be better. Yeah, no excuses for that.
Prescott back, deep out to the left. It's intercepted at the 30-yard line. Dallas has turned it over twice today.
That's unacceptable. Guys put me in a position to go win the game, and I wasn't able to do that.
You got to go 94 yards.
This game is over, and so is the Cowboys' season.
There's already been turnover in Dallas since the Cowboys lost to the Niners in the divisional playoff round. Dak will have a new play caller with Kellen Moore off to Los Angeles. It'll be Mike McCarthy taking over the play calling duties. He's done it before in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, but with a lucrative contract, another early playoff exit, and new OC. What does this mean in Big D? Here's team ownership.
I'm still very strong, I'm very strong on Dak. This whole thing reflects the upside that I feel in Dak. The fact that we're doing this, Mike's calling the plays, this has everything to do with the positiveness around Dak. It's building around Dak.
Do you address Dak's deal now? I mean, with the number, I know we talked before that it's something that you would look at or could look at.
Yeah, I think you can look at it, absolutely. I mean, it's not, do we do it or not? I mean, it takes two parties to talk. The bigger thing for us is Dak's going to be our guy for the next, hopefully, 10 years.
All right, so they support him there in Big D. Dak led the NFL in interceptions this season. By the way, he missed time with injury. In the postseason, a little better, posted a QBR of 82, the second highest of anyone. His 5 touchdown passes are also tied for the most by any quarterback in the playoffs. I don't know how we're already here again, but contract talks for Dallas and Dak. Here's first take.
The reasoning behind this decision is everything. They are $7 million over the projected salary cap this year. So I think the question is, where does Dak sit when it comes to money-wise? The performance hasn't matched the expectation attached to that money. If you're the Cowboys, you don't rush to sign him to an extension strictly because you want to reward the performance. Only because, hey, we need some salary cap freedom, but you got to be very smart and strategic with doing it, because right now, with the performance coming off of last year, it doesn't feel good to do that to the individual player.
Look, he didn't play so poorly over the last 3 years that we got to get rid of him. That is not the case at all when it comes to Dak Prescott. You can't tie up 25% of your salary to one guy. So, yes, they certainly are going to do that, but in doing that, you have to extend him.
You want to pay a guy that is the salary cap hit and the salary hit this year that's coming off of his worst season, going into a season that, one, his coach now has to be the play caller, and two, whether we want to call it a hot seat or the highest expectations of performance and winning that's going to be in the NFL, we could very much so, fast forward, I hope this doesn't happen, but sit here going, oh, the Cowboys are looking for a new head coach, but they got a quarterback that's under a gajillion-dollar contract, so you have to make him. You have to have him as your quarterback.
You have to. What are you gonna do? You're gonna let one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL walk out the door? You're gonna allow him in a quarterback-starving league to walk out the door because you don't want to do the right thing by extending his contract and kicking the can down the road.
Part one, Orlovsky, if you're watching out there in Vegas, screenshot me the text you sent Keyshawn after the show. Part two, Dak Prescott is a top 6 to 8 quarterback in the NFL. You don't just get rid of a top 6 to 8 quarterback in the NFL. Where they're right, though, you have to start being cap friendly to build around him, because what success do we see? Teams winning with quarterbacks on rookie contracts. Dak deserved the money when he got it. Got to restructure and get
Remember how long it took them to get that done? I mean, it took down to the last second.
2-3 years in a row.
Yeah, and that was after they did Zeke, right? To me, and Marcus Spears has said this a million times, does he have the talent around him to be the best Dak Prescott? Now, does he take accountability for some of those mistakes? Absolutely, some bad decisions at really bad times, but he still doesn't have the full talent around him, which is why we're not surprised he's not in the Super Bowl right now. I say you must keep him.
Okay, just be cheaper a little bit. Budget cut.
Cheap thing. Okay, you want to talk some basketball?
Yeah.
Fourth quarter collapse. That's what it was last night. Here we go. Warriors and Timberwolves. It's in Minneapolis. We start about a minute left in the first quarter. Watch